off night. It's the hipsters are all here. All the hipsters. Yeah, that's right. The hipsters are way on tonight. We're gonna have some fun tonight. So I'm gonna introduce you to your host and MC, the man with it all, the man who knows it all the way from somewhere in Michigan. It's a mystery spot. Please welcome Mr. Mark Sweetman for the off night.
Hey, all right. Welcome to the off night. Andy, good to see you.
Good seeing you. Good seeing you.
Our announcer and bon vivant, Andy Jensen, good to see you, who is in his last day in the 50s. Tomorrow is his big show, and I'm sure we're all looking forward to that. And as I've already told him, he says he's already there, but my saying is about the zero birthdays. Every time you reach a zero, as the doctor finds a new hole to explore, So.
Oh yeah. So I've already had both exposures.
Both. When I turned 60, I was getting number 6.
Well, I had the hand puppet done, but I also crapped in a box. So
there you go.
I mailed it, and you should have seen the UPS guy's face. It's like, yeah, I say. Browing around town. Here you go. It's like, no. Okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, we're short one of our regulars today, and so I'm gonna leave the StreamYard link up there. So if anybody wants to join us, we got plenty of room, we got plenty of bandwidth. But let's get Sammy out here. Here's our favorite comic and radio guy, Sam Greenfield. Everybody, good to see you.
Hi, everybody. Nice to be here with the Michigan Maulers. Always a privilege. Always a pleasure.
Yes.
And I'd like to start off with this joke.
Okay.
How do you milk a sheep?
I don't know. How do you milk a sheep?
You tell them the election was rigged, and then you ask for money.
Ooh. I like it.
Very good.
Thank you.
Not a ha-ha, but a...
Not a knee slapper, but a, yeah.
Yeah.
A thinking man's joke. Yes.
So how rare for me, but...
Right, as long as you've revealed we're from Michigan. This is not a Michigan show. It just so happens that
not.
Andy and I are 30 miles apart in suburban Detroit. Yeah. And Sam joins us every week from New York. I'm still working on getting an LA guy. Kathy, our Florida correspondent, who normally joins us, is on her way back to Michigan because she's a snowbird. And she's in Memphis with her daughter tonight and can't join us. We're always looking, it'd be nice to get somebody from Chicago. I'd like a Texas person to join us. But the thing is, you got it.
We're good.
Except for Sam.
Be careful with the Confederate States election. That's all I'm saying. Seriously.
My kids are talking about moving there. So
really, Texas.
My oldest, his parent company is in Texas, and he's in Los Angeles, and he can barely make it out there with the pandemic and the rent. So the only thing he's got.
A lot of people. There's a big article in the paper. A lot of people from LA are moving to Texas.
Yeah, so they're talking. He's talking about moving to Texas. So
but wait till they get there and see what a shithole that place is.
I'll tell you why it's funny to me. Is because they interviewed this guy who, for the purposes of this story, is Yutz. And they said to him, why do you want to move there? And he says, just more freedom, more blah, blah, blah. And then he goes, and I get to, and he said it like someone who had just seen a naked woman. He goes, and I get to start my gun collection. This is a married man with 2 kids. My gun collection. Oh, Mr. Penis must be tiny. Mr. Willie, these guys who walk into a 7-Eleven with the AR-15, come on, man. Seriously. Yeah.
Speaking
if you have ever spent any time in Texas, you do not want to live there. It's just the worst place on the planet.
Can I tell you something? They think Austin is a great place. I didn't think that was hot. Austin didn't move me.
I try to drive through Austin. It's like I could not believe how bad the driving or the traffic was in every
traffic's horrible
town. It was just like a solid. And what were they going to? It's dirt. The place is nothing but dirt.
I got into an argument with this girl in Austin I was at like a tippy taco, buy two and go back to your hotel room kind of thing. And I asked the waitress for or the one behind the thing for what's the stuff? It's chopped up, not chimichurri. You know what I mean? It's like chopped up tomato and not salsa. It is chimichurri, I think.
Chimichanga.
Anyway, I asked her for
Chimichanga.
something like that. Anyway, I asked for two of them. It's been years ago. Two of them, and she put two down. And this woman goes, "No, one of those is mine." And the woman put one down and said, "No, that's yours." And she goes, "I want that one." I go, "These are in a plastic container with a snap-on lid. Yours is no worse than mine." She goes, "I want that one." I go, "You're not going to get it."
Mm.
And she goes, "Thanks for not." I go, "I can't believe you're picking a fight about this." And as soon as I said that, I regretted it because my biggest fear in life is that the last words I hear before I die are, "So then I shot him, officer." That's my biggest fear. Okay. Fortunately, I'm white, but it's still my biggest fear. Man,
I only worked 3 rooms in Texas, and they were all booked from outside of Texas. So that's probably
Houston.
There were 2 rooms in Houston I worked. One was booked by the Ice House, and the other one was by Howard from the Laugh Stop, both out of LA. And then in San Antonio, I worked for Bruno and Jimmy Miller when they opened up whatever their room was in Pittsburgh. They opened up a San Antonio location.
Mm-hmm.
So we lost Sam, and Sam is back. Let me see if we got here. Which Sam is going to? Oh, they're both shadows.
There's 2 Sams.
I'm a shadow.
Oh, he's on both.
We can't see you, but you're doing your Hal impersonation.
I don't need to be so esoteric in my approach to this show.
As soon as a picture comes on one of them, I'm turning the other one down. Oh,
there I am.
Okay, I'm losing this guy.
No.
Much better.
Yep.
Am I getting an echo?
You were when we had 2 of you on here, but now
Let
you're
me see.
down.
No, I still have it.
Do you? Hold on just a second. I'm going to get rid of it for you.
Oh, God, you killed Andy. Oh, okay.
Did I really? No, Andy's there.
I'm still here. I'm frozen, but I'm still here.
I think it's gone now. Yes, it is. Nice work, Mark.
So anyway, San Antonio was I can't think of the name of the Funny Bone. The Funny Bone in Pittsburgh opened a Funny Bone in San Antonio.
The Panic Brothers?
Yes. But it was Bruno. No, maybe it wasn't the Funny Bone. Who was Bruno Sharapa and Jimmy Miller?
Bruno Sharapa. Why do I know that name?
He came from Syracuse. He had the club in Syracuse, and Jimmy.
That's Miller, why I know him.
And Jimmy Miller had the club.
Dennis's brother.
Yes, and the 2 of them opened up a room in San Antonio together.
Does Dennis do you know if Dennis gets along with Jimmy?
They were when the last time I talked to both of them, they were getting along fine because Jimmy, I don't know because Jimmy has a whole new career managing what's his name?
Strippers?
No, Jimmy Miller manages oh God, the guy. What's his name? Pet detective. Who's
again?
The pet detective guy. Mask. I can't think of the guy.
Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey. Jimmy Miller manages Jim Carrey. And that's his bread and butter.
Well,
I'm sure he's got other clients, but do you need any other clients besides that?
Well, you may now. He hasn't made a movie in 4 years.
Yeah, that's fine. Jimmy Miller's also at the age where he probably wants to retire anyway. He's moved to Texas.
What's his name? Oh God. He manages Tim Allen. Rick Messina. Now, when I first met Rick Messina, he ran a club in Queens called the Rainy Night House. And it was a very, very, I can't say this enough, very local club. And he was so nice about putting me in there. You know, I had just moved to New York, and he said, well, I've heard some good things about you. Yeah, why don't you come? Can you do this weekend? I just had a fallout. I went, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So, but then he got what's his name? Tim Allen. And he got a couple of other people. But once you get Tim Allen, I feel the same way that you do about what's his name? Jim Carrey. Once you get Tim Allen, 4 Toy Stories or 3,
Free
Santa Claus, two of those. And
Really?
my favorite of his, Galaxy Quest.
That was the best he did.
That's the best Tim Allen film.
That was the best Tim Allen movie. Yeah.
He'll have to do some Academy Award nominated thing to beat that. That was just a great film.
I'm going to tell you something interesting about that film. Barbara and I, when Cassie was a year old, flew to England to visit a friend of hers who worked for a corporation there. They're American. And, go see them and go see Big Ben and all that other happy horse shit, And on the film God, I got to say something. What is it? The British Air. What a fabulous goddamn airline, man!
Any American that is not owned by an American company is a fabulous airline. Once you've flown domestic, our airlines are the absolute worst.
They are. They're the shuttle bus of airlines.
And if you want to feel good about our airlines, train travel in Europe and train travel in the U.S. And then you'll feel good about our airlines because the airlines are that much better than our train service. So,
yeah.
My brother, my brother's anniversary. He's dead now. Was on April 11th, and it was 67 years.
Wow.
Okay. So when they had just gotten married, like maybe a couple of years, he had a description of his wife, which is really true. She's scared of everything. She told me not to drive down the Pacific Coast Highway because of fog. She said, you could go off the rail and plunge 50 feet. I said, you have never driven the PCH. There is no 50-foot drop. You might roll down a hill, but there's no 50-foot drop. And I've driven in fog, and you have to take some kind of laxative because you're killing me.
Did you see where the mudslide? Dragged the freeway down to the beach.
Yeah, that's horrible. That was such a wonderful.
Yeah, but think about how easy it is to get out.
We interrupted you. You were telling your story about.
So my brother and his wife go to LA to visit friends. She won't fly. This is 1957. She won't fly. They take the train. It's 5 days, 5.5. When they get to LA, my brother says to her, I am flying home. I don't give a shit how you get there. And she went, and he said it was a horrendous experience. She was like Charles Grodin in Midnight Run.
Oh, God. That is so funny.
Okay? That's how bad she was. That's how bad she was.
The brother-in-law story interrupted the other story you were talking about flying to Europe because we interrupted that one.
Oh, I'm sorry. So, and I saw whatchamahoo's the Galaxy Quest on the plane on the way. And here's something interesting. You know the scene where they encounter the choppers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you see Sigourney Weaver go, well, screw that, right? In the actual movie, she's saying fuck.
Right.
Yeah. They cleaned it up for America. Because on the flight, she went, well, fuck that. And this isn't something this isn't a Siskel Ebert excursion, but it's, if you ever see it again and you remember, it's just interesting they did that. And the guy who played the villain was great, Robin Sachs.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it was just his voice, but he was great.
Yeah, it makes me want to see it again. I don't think my kids have seen it. Maybe I'll pull it out for them. So.
And what's that great actor Alan Rickman, who's gone now? He was in it.
Yeah. Man. Oh man.
Wayne Wilson was in it.
We got a theater. We got a theater here in Detroit, the Redford Theater. Have you ever been there, Andy?
I believe I've been there once.
Sam, did you ever play Chaplin's West? It was on the west side of Detroit. It was an old jazz.
Many years ago. The logo is a little picture of Chaplin.
Yeah, but not the one in the bowling alley. The west one was in an old jazz club, and it was in that late
red chairs.
Yeah, it had a round room. It was a round room where they put
I remember it.
Okay. The Redford Theater is near that place.
Okay.
What the Redford Theater does is they've got, well, first of all, Detroit, Michigan has one of the great film archives of all time. We have private collectors here that just have a ton of film. And there's a production house here called Jam Handy. You've probably heard of them, Andy. Jam Handy actually developed during like World War II, between when we went from talkies till just after World War II, Jam Handy developed and processed more talkie films than any city besides Hollywood. I mean, more than London.
Wow.
Yeah. And so Detroit was the workhouse for all these films that were on location that you didn't go back to LA for. It was just, and we're talking about trains again instead of planes. So, but anyway, because of that, and because of this company, there are a lot of collectors, especially in the moneyed areas of Grosse Pointe and things like that, of old acetate film. And these are people that have the ability to keep them stored and not deteriorate and stuff like that. Well, the Redford Theater every once in a while will just have a film festival with people. And when I think of people like, Rickman's gone now, but when I think they've had Tippi Hedren here. I mean, they bring the people in for these film festivals, and they go, "Well, Tippi Hedren only did what, 2 films? I mean, she did Birds and she did a couple others, but she comes in for this." Yeah, and so they get these people that come in for these festivals, and it's awesome. Last year got canceled by COVID, but George, the guy who played the love interest in West Side Story, George.
Chakiris.
Yes,
George Chakiris.
George Chakiris was coming in for a George Chakiris Film Festival. I'm thinking, I mean, and my wife and I went to, for my birthday a couple years ago, my wife took me to the anniversary showing. And this is in a shitty little neighborhood in Detroit. It's not even a glamorous neighborhood, but the theater is spectacular. In this shitty little neighborhood, we went to see Napoleon Dynamite, the 25th anniversary of it. And they had 3 of the stars there. And they did a question and answer. It was the best question and answer session I have ever seen in my entire life. The movie, an hour and a half. The question and answer session, 2 hours. And the 3 of them did song and dance. And I mean, it was like, It was all impromptu, but these guys were such great improvisers that it was like they had rehearsed this or something.
The best thing about a George Chakiris festival is that West Side Story is about 3 hours long. Right. And he was in Hawaii, which is about 3 hours long. So 2 movies, you're fucking done. That's it. Done. Next question, please. 6 hours, baby. Give me a break. The sorrow and the pity. I mean,
the thing that's cool about this is that you've got these people will come in, and like at the beginning of the night, they'll take his picture with people. And you go out, and right next door is a T-shirt shop. They got T-shirts for sale of the event you were just at, with pictures on the T-shirts. I mean, they're producing the T-shirt.
That picture, like they can put your selfie on the T-shirt.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, and it's so. And when you look, and then you go outside and you look at the neighborhood. It's still Detroit. There's still winos on the corner. There's always an accident. There's always an accident on Grand River.
They're not winos. Those are agents.
Agents. That's good.
It's a very high stress job, and they drink. Let's not judge.
But it's a great old Detroit neighborhood, and I love that. Those old films they do there, and I would not be surprised if I lived long enough to see a Tim Allen Film Festival at the Redford Theater.
You know that scene where in West Side Story, not the basketball court, that's on 110th, but the one, everything else, where they're dancing and there's a store there and all that.
Yeah.
That's where Lincoln Center is now.
Really?
Yes, and Juilliard. And I can never, their School for the Performing Arts. High School for the Performing Arts, where Fame, but that's not where Fame was shot. Fame was shot in another location. But Fame was shot in another location. But it's it's interesting. And one of the actors in the Jets, I believe, the Jets, was Gus Triconis, who was Goldie Hawn's first husband.
Really?
Yeah, if you ever watch it again, he's the one who looks like if Joe Pesci had a brother.
Speaking of Goldie Hawn, and if I could tell you which service it was, either we have Hulu, Prime, Amazon Prime, and Netflix. It was on one of them. But her husband, Kurt Russell.
Her man. They're not married.
No, that's right. Her man, Kurt Russell. He played professional baseball.
Yeah, till he blew a knee.
Yeah. And his dad was the owner of the team he played for. Did you ever hear this story?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, man.
Is this AAA?
Yeah, no, single A. The
Okay.
The name of the film is, I have to look it up again, but the name of the film, Jim Bouton came up with the title. And it was, he was a writer, probably better known for his writing than his pitching.
Ball four,
the same. Yep, that guy.
Yeah.
Anyway, he came up. He was writing about this baseball team that he played. He played in his comeback to the majors. He played for them. He played for Kurt Russell's dad. His name was Bing Russell. And what's that?
He was an actor. I think he was an actor.
He was. He played the sheriff on Bonanza for 13 seasons.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anyway, but the thing, it's a great story. It's a great story. Oh, the name of the movie is the Battered Bastards of Baseball. And that was the name that they gave to the film, but it was actually something that Jim Bouton had named them in writing about them in a story of his comeback, because he did a second book after he did Ball Four, and then was sort of blackballed from baseball. And in his comeback I think he went to the majors with the Atlanta Braves. But in his comeback, basically, he learned at his age, he learned how to throw junk, and like all old pitchers do. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it's a 90-minute documentary, but what a great story! It's like it was just about how baseball had been turned into a business, and Bing Russell, who was not a businessman, he was an actor, bought for $500. Bought a baseball. Wow. Bought a baseball team. Gave his son a job, and turned the market of Portland, Oregon around. The AAA team had moved out of there. They were the Beavers, and they moved to Walla Walla, Washington, or something like that. They were still in the Pacific Coast League. So he comes in
for Walla Walla.
What's that?
They left Portland for Walla Walla.
It wasn't Walla. No, it was Billingham, Washington. Whatever. One of the
Billingham, it's a suburb of Seattle.
Well, they were only here. They had like a 20,000 seat stadium.
Jesus, that's a lot for AAA. I mean, for A, that's huge.
But it's Portland. Yeah, but it was a AAA stadium they moved into. And when you see the film, you'll see it was one of those 1970s multi-purpose. They played soccer there. You look at the field; it's lined for soccer and football, and they probably had a pro tennis team. Yeah, but anyway, I'm recommending it. Good film. It's one of the films I saw this week that probably needs some attention, especially if you're a sports fan.
I went to one of my very best friends is also my accountant, and thank God, and he has a lot of baseball players as clients. And one of them, I can never remember this guy's name, but he's pitching in the majors now. But we went to Allentown, Pennsylvania, to see the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs. And I thought you guys would find this interesting. The manager of the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs is Lance Parrish.
Wow.
Good guy.
And
wow.
I learned something, and I never thought about this. In the minors, the major league team doesn't care what your record is. They don't care. You can be 5-22. It's how you develop the talent. It's how you develop that talent. So I lived in a city, Oneonta, for 3 years, Oneonta, New York.
They got a minor league team.
Yeah, they had. They don't anymore. Maybe they do now, but they went through a lot of transitions. Yankee majors, Pittsburgh, Anyway, when I was there, it was the Oneonta Yankees, the A team. And these kids are like 16 years old. They stay with families, a lot of them are from Dominican Republic, and they play decent ball. But there's nothing like going to an A ball game. Nothing. The player who hits one out tonight for the Yankees gets a steak from Bugles. I adore that. So it was 1977, and Yankees had this young pitcher whose arm was in trouble, but through some kind of miracle, his arm healed completely. So it was just becoming 77 rather, and they wanted to see how he could pitch. So they had him pitch against these AAA kids. The pitcher's name was Ron Guidry.
Wow.
And I can only say this as a spectator, but those kids must have felt like they were watching aspirins go by. I mean, this is what it sounded like from the stands. I don't know if you can hear me, but like that. Okay. I mean, by the way, did you hear about this girl from North Texas State, Hope Troutwine?
No.
She pitched a perfect game, 7-inning game, and struck out 21.
Wow.
She struck out everybody.
Wow.
She struck out 2 people on her own fucking team. That's how good this kid is.
Wow.
That's right. She hit on a guy. She struck out with him. I'm telling you, the chick is on fire.
What up? Here we go.
Oh, God. But anyway, she struck out 21.
My old high school has 2 state softball championships and 1 baseball championship. In fact, the last championship team I saw on my alumni page on Facebook, one of the alumni from my high school that was on this last championship team is now a coach for the Mets. I'd tell you his name if I could think of it. But anyway, they won 1 boys title and 2 girls titles. The 2 girls titles came in the junior and senior year of this pitcher that they had that was like that kind of pitcher where you just struck out everybody. So the thing is, you didn't have to have good fielders. You just basically needed to score 1 run every game to become state championships when you have somebody like that on the team.
Well, you remember, we weren't alive for it. I was alive for it. You weren't. But when Johnny Sain pitched with Warren Spahn on the Boston, those are the only 2 pitchers they had. Relief starting, that was it. So the old saying was Spahn and Sain and pray for rain.
Oh, I like that. I like that. I was reading some old stuff about the Tigers recently, and because that's my team. And you look at some of the Hall of Famers and some of the great pitchers they had. How do we only have 4 championships? There were some.
You're talking to a guy who's from Washington, D.C. Until 2019. First of all, they didn't have a team for 30 years.
No, that's true.
We had 2 of the worst owners. We had Clark Griffith? No, Clark was the old man. We had Calvin Griffith, who would rather be boiled alive than sign a black player. When he came, I don't know if you know this story, when he came to Minnesota, when they moved the team out of DC, after they went over 500 for the first time in 12 years. Thanks, guys. And he spoke before like a chamber of commerce in Minnesota. He would have the team taken away from him now. But he said, I love Minnesota. It's got nothing but hardworking white people.
Oh,
he absolutely would have lost the team. And so what happened after George Floyd, there's this big guilt complex hitting white America. They took his statue down at the stadium. He's the guy who gave them that team. They took the statue down.
Well, we kept Ty Cobbs up.
For now.
Well, that's the whole thing about that Woody Allen thing. Woody Allen can't get his movies distributed in the United States now.
Oh, that's a shame.
Wow.
I like Woody Allen.
Yeah, and I'm gonna, but let me. So this is my question. Okay, then stop showing Charlie Chaplin movies.
Yeah.
Okay, and don't play any Jerry Lee Lewis songs.
Yep.
I mean, live your truth. Okay. Anything like that. Roman Polanski, sorry, can't do it. And I know the girl who he did that to forgave him. That has nothing to do with him breaking the law. He broke the law.
Yeah.
I'm unpopular with some people here in New York when in comedy because I think Louis C.K. should be in jail. Yeah. I mean, if he was Joe Jones and jerked off in front of 221-year-old, come on. Stop, and especially he said, come up to my suite, I want to talk business. And that's what he did.
Yeah. Yeah. This is,
I haven't heard from Louis C.K. since then. So,
by the way, I just found this out. Do you know who was until 2018? Do you know who Harvey Weinstein's staunchest defender was? Public defender? Mia Farrow.
Really? Wow.
Yes, and 2018 was the year that she started leveling the charges against Woody Allen. And she stopped, and then she went through this. I didn't realize that I just, shut up. Please.
Yeah.
I don't see what all the hubbub is about. I slept with Sun Yi when she was 14. It wasn't that big a deal. She's very, nice girl. But Woody Allen's never going to, he's never going to get away from this. And also he's 85.
Yeah. Well, so it comes to the old question is, do you...
Sorry, fans.
His films are still brilliant stuff. It's like, so does this mean
Charlie Chaplin's brilliant,
Yeah, well, what? You could... Hemingway would never be allowed to do anything today.
Yeah,
Hemingway
was politically incorrect by today's standards.
Hemingway, Zoolander. Let me ask you a question. I know that sounds funny, but listen. Zoolander. Do you think they'd let Jerry Stiller get away with his tushy squeeze?
No.
Yeah.
That's that movie's 20 years old.
Is it really? Zoolander's 20 years old now? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
I don't watch it anymore because Trump's in it. But
does he have
to?
There's no scene. There's no scene. There's no movie that's ruined if you take the Trump scene out. There is no movie that is ruined by taking the Trump scene out.
There are people who say that about Scott Baio.
Same thing. Take every Scott Baio scene out of films. It does not ruin the film.
Oh, by the way, I can't believe I haven't done this for you. Because of comics, and I've never told you this. David, this is my favorite line from David Letterman ever. He goes, I don't even know who wrote it, but he says, this, how many years ago this is when you hear it. He goes, the French have awarded Jerry Lewis the Legion of Merit Award for being a comic genius. Now, before you're taken aback by that, please remember that the Swiss have the same high regard for Gavin MacLeod. That's genius. I don't know who wrote it, but whatever one of his writers wrote that should get a raise. That is genius.
My favorite Letterman joke was the one when they were they had the show in Vegas. This is back when they were still on NBC. He's got the show in Vegas. He goes, this guy comes.
I think I know it.
The guy comes up to me and says,
Yes.
My mother needs an operation. Yeah. My mother needs an operation. Do you have any money, any at all? I'll take whatever you can give me. He goes, well, I give it to you, but how do I know you're not going to use it for gambling? He goes, well, I got gambling money.
That is the greatest joke. And by the way, for a couple of days after that, he'd look over at Paul Schaefer and go, Paul, I got gambling money.
Yeah, gambling money. Yes. You're right. He did do that.
That was brilliant.
There's another guy in this, man.
I got gambling money. My father told one joke to me, and I don't know if it was his. doesn't matter. He was my dad. He said, Las Vegas is the only place where you drive there in a $20,000 car and leave in a $40,000 bus.
That's a good one. You know, my dad, speaking of dads, my dad used to, when I was a young kid, tell me Johnny Carson and Jack Parr, and Steve Allen, Jack Parr, Johnny Carson, all those guys, because I was little, and he would tell me their monologue, what he could remember, because I couldn't stay up that late. And of course, he would, you know, if it was a joke I didn't get, he would explain it and everything. But I mean, I consider that my comedy training as a young child. My dad telling me the Tonight Show.
When I was bar mitzvahed, my sister Corinne and her husband Herbie, my oldest sibling, said, "What would you like for your bar mitzvah gift?" And I said, "I'd like 5 record albums." And I'll never forget this. I was 13. And she said, "Well, which ones do you want?" I said, "An Evening with Nichols and May."
Oh,
Inside
yes.
Shelley Berman. Outside Shelley Berman.
Yeah.
Belle Barth.
I haven't heard of that. Which one's Belle
I'll tell
Barth?
you in a second.
Right.
And the soundtrack to The Alamo by John Wayne. Anyway, Belle Barth was a dirty piano lounge singer.
Oh, good. Okay.
Okay. Her and Rusty Warren, whose album Knockers Up was a huge stuff.
I remember what Rusty Warren.
So this is Belle Barth's this is Belle Barth's 2 lines that I remember. And I, you know, because I haven't heard it since I was 15. The first one was, "Listen, if you're in a pool with your husband and you can't find him and you see bubbles near your crotch, run like hell." I don't. And the other one was her song she did, and she did the song to open her show. "I'm gonna line 100 up against the wall. I bet $100 I can bang them all. I bowing to about 98. I thought my back would break. I went around the corner, had an oyster stew. Came back, banged the other 2," and it goes on like that.
Oh man!
And she, you know, she was just this bluesy blonde, you know, Sophie Tucker, a dirtier Sophie Tucker, although if that line from Bette Midler about that Sophie Tucker tells is true, that's dirtier than anything Belle Barth did. You know the one I'm talking about?
No. We have viewers.
I'm going to clean this up completely, okay? So my boyfriend Louis says, hey, Soph, you're flat-chested, okay? And you got a tight box. I said, "Hey, Louis, get off my back."
Oh, man. Even cleaned up, that's a great joke.
I know.
Our albums, when I was a kid, we had the best of Bill Cosby. I'm not sure that's it's because by the time we got our phonograph player in our house, I often talk about how we were the last family on the block to get the television, the last one to get the phonograph. But I mean, we were, you know, my parents were not wealthy, but we had the best of Bill Cosby. We had an album by Burns and Shriver.
Oh yeah.
In which every one of the albums
had
every one of the albums.
Avery Shriver.
Yep. Yeah. And we had what else?
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Very underrated, very underrated comedy duo.
They did when they did the one where Jack Burns says he's trying to say Jew. And so Henry Shriver goes, "You mean Jew?" He goes, "Hey, I'm not calling people names." He goes, "I'm a Jew. There's something wrong with Jew." He goes, "Yeah, you Hebes are okay." I mean, I listen to that stuff now, and it's just so out of bounds. But it was so funny. We had an album by a guy, and you rarely hear. In fact, you never hear from him anymore. Dick Davey. Do you remember Dick Davey?
No.
The Arkansas Traveler.
I remember that title, but I don't remember him.
Yeah. He was a guy. He was a Jew actually, but he played a Southern hick and he played the same, the Hungry Eye and all the Village Club, where where Robert Klein and Woody Allen, all those guys were playing, and that was a great album. And what else did we have? We had a bunch of stuff. Shelley Berman's, all the Shelley.
We had all where he asked his father for money to go to acting school.
Yeah, my favorite Shelley Berman bit that I remember was he because he did the phone bits and he could not be home, but he was traveling or something, traveling salesman. He could not be home for his daughter's first date. And the line I remember from that bit, it's a long, 10-minute bit, but he goes, I want to tell you something. He goes, Precious Angel, whatever name he gave, Angel. He goes, I'll tell you something. He's saved up his money and he's probably going to, take you to a nice place and give you a nice dinner. And maybe you're going to a show, don't know. But at the end of the night, he's going to walk you to the doorstep. And I'm telling you it's going to happen now so that you're not surprised by it. He's going to want a kiss. All right. Well, if he's done his thing and he's been a polite gentleman, you give him a kiss. That first kiss, that's his business. Now, if you like him and it's a good kiss, you can kiss him back. That second kiss, that's your business. All right. That third kiss, that's my business.
That's
fun. I remember that. I remember laughing at that when I was 6 and understanding, what that joke was, and it's just such a great joke.
That's so funny.
That third kiss, my business.
John Mendoza used to do this bit about. He said, "You ever take a girl out, and she just doesn't look good. I'm not talking about ugly, but she just doesn't look good. And your father is saying to her, honey, I want you home by 10. And I look at him, I go, try 7:30.
It's always the mercy dates.
The mercy date. Paul Newman in a Playboy an interview in Playboy. Did I get that wrong? Yeah. In an interview in Playboy, they asked him what are the different kinds of sex. He said, because when you're on a set, you get so bored. You start thinking about the different kinds of. He was talking to Martin Balsam when they were doing Hombre. Was it Hombre? Yeah. And they start talking about different kinds of sex. And he goes, well, for example, there's medicinal sex that after it's over, you say, feel better. There's mercy sex for fat librarians, and he said, and then there's wife sex, and of course, if you love your wife, then during it, you will tell her that at least I'm thinking 100 times a minute that she's the best ever, and don't forget it. But how long was he married? I know someone who says he played around. He says he never did, but it's not something you'd brag about with Joanne Woodward because I think she'd dump him.
Yeah.
Yeah. They stayed together forever.
Yeah. I mean, like 55, 60 years. Yeah. If he hadn't smoked, I bet he'd still be alive.
Yeah. Probably same with Steve McQueen.
Johnny Carson.
Yep. Oh, yeah. All those smokers. What did Johnny Carson live to? Like 72 or something?
79. Like 79.
I guess that's not bad. See, my dad lived longer than any other male in my family that I knew. He lived to 77. So.
Well, that's like Denny McClain. Everybody in every male in Denny McClain's family died at like 43. Yeah. From a heart attack. Have you seen Denny McClain now that he's not playing baseball?
Yeah, I see him all the time.
He's the size of us. and he's got to be, let me see, he pitched the no-hitter. Excuse me, he went 31-7. Well, you would know, in 68. Yeah. So that's 53 years ago. So he's in his late 70s.
Yeah.
Okay? And he's fat as a whale, but he's alive.
Yeah.
And I mean, he has outlived the other family members by decades.
It's that fine dining he had in prison.
Well,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Story about him and Pepsi Cola, right?
Soybeans. There we go. Okay.
No, he drank when he was playing. I don't know if he still does. He couldn't still do this. I can't believe he would drink 13, 14, 16-ounce Pepsis a day.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, you know that after Lolich retired, he opened up a donut shop.
Yep, I know that too. Nolich is
And
still alive.
one guy who needed to be near fried food with high sugar density, it's Mickey Lolich.
And Mickey Lolich is still alive. We have people in town that are still giving Lou Whitaker, Mickey Lolich, and Bill Freehand stats for, comparing them to other second baseman, catchers, and left-handed pitchers that are in the Hall, and they're not. So it's
well, the thing about Lolich was, I don't think the longevity. I think longevity works against him. He wasn't great for that long. I think that hurts him.
But he has so many complete games and so many strikeouts. I mean, it's just
Whitaker should be in right now. Whitaker should be in right now.
He should have gone in with Trammell. I mean, when you look at his stats, and compare him to other second basemen during his time. He's Ryan Sandberg's in. He equals or better Sandberg. But I don't know. What can I say? The problem with Lou Whitaker is he'll get in on the veterans ballot when the players are deciding, because it's the sports writers now, and he didn't talk to reporters. He didn't stand for the national anthem. I don't know if you knew this or not, but when Whitaker, for the 20 years that Whitaker and Trammell were on that team, the Tigers did not go on the field for the national anthem because Chet Lemon and Lou Whitaker are Jehovah's Witnesses, and they would not. So the Tiger, they would sing the national anthem, and then they'd run onto the field. And a lot of people didn't know. They didn't make a big deal of it because you'd have these anti.
How did his team feel about it?
What's that?
How did his teammates feel about it?
You know what? He was batting over 300 and could turn a double play like nobody's business. I don't think they really cared.
Is Norm Cash alive?
Norm Cash had a tragic death. I think he was with Billy Martin when he died. Come to think of it, they were up north.
God Almighty!
Yeah, they were up north, and they were both drinking, and he went out to. I think he was going to take a boat home. And boat travel is not, it's like car travel in Michigan, just because of all the lakes and rivers and stuff. And he slipped off a dock and drowned.
Wow. Jesus. Well, I told you.
For some reason, I'm thinking Billy Martin was with him at the time, but I can't remember.
Billy Martin. I was playing a club in Binghamton, which is near where Billy Martin died.
Mm-hmm.
And the show is going very well. People are laughing. They're enjoying themselves. And there's one guy in the audience, second row, like this. And he wasn't giving me a hard time. He wasn't heckling. He just wasn't laughing. And I said to the audience, we are like, I don't know if you guys know this, we're like 5 miles from where Billy Martin met his fate. And a woman in the audience went, yeah, it's just that close. I went, yeah. And I said, and then the guy is looking at me, and I went, Billy Martin, the only man to die sliding into home. And this, the story, Andy?
No.
He was drunk, and he was trying to park his car, and the parking area was at his house was on an incline, and he took his foot off the brake and smashed into the building and died.
Wow.
So the joke I told was Billy Martin, the only man to die sliding into home. And suddenly this guy exploded laughing. He didn't laugh at anything. The guy who wouldn't laugh at anything. If I tickled him, he wouldn't laugh.
Yeah.
But he laughed at that. But Billy Martin, they ought to do a bio on Billy Martin, a movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that is one complex guy.
I thought they haven't they done at least one documentary of him?
Was it of him?
I don't think so. Sometimes he gets grouped in with the Yankees. He gets grouped in with other Yankees when storytelling comes along,
Yeah.
But I mean,
yeah.
his he's got those stints as manager of the Twins, the Tigers, and the Yankees that are legendary.
Very successful.
Well, wherever he went, he won.
And Oakland.
Oh yeah, Oakland too. Yeah.
Oakland, yeah.
You know, the story is, Glenn Burke, the first gay player, that anybody knew was gay in the major leagues, died of AIDS.
Yes,
and he was a good ball player. He was a really good ball player. Huh?
The first openly gay player.
That's correct. And he was down in the minors, and he was in the Oakland organization. And they asked Billy Martin, "When are you bringing him back up?" He says, "I don't have any fags playing on my team."
And he never loved wherever he went. He was a winning guy, but they never loved him as a coach.
The story about the line you always hear about Billy Martin is he was great between the white lines. He was great managing a game, but off the field, horrible. Yeah. Couldn't control his temper, couldn't control his drinking, none of it.
Yeah, he was. They talk about. My brother talked about his stint in Oakland. Just that they just really hated him. They couldn't stand him, and they're happy to get rid of him.
What you mean, the fans?
Yeah.
I understand what that means to be hated. By the way, by the fan. Can you imagine? Think of the the contradiction there. Who hated him? The fans, not his. Certainly not Billy's. Yeah. Are you a fan of this team? Yeah. What do you think? I hope he dies. So you're not a fan of his. Okay. I want to clear that up. Not his. All right.
The battered bastards of baseball. You got to see that film. They're at the end, of course, they do the what happened to all these guys. Jim Bouton was the only one who made it to the majors, and he was already a major leaguer that was doing his comeback. But two of the guys actually developed Big League Chew, that bubble gum.
Oh, wow.
And they're millionaires now. They did it while on the team.
They are.
They did it they've developed Big League Chew. Another one, and I can't think of his name. You'll have to see the film. Won an Academy Award as a film director. And you think I'd know that name. You think I'd remember it just even seeing the film last night, but I don't remember it. And one of the guys, Swanee, after baseball, he went to Seattle and opened up a comedy club.
I performed there. Swanee's Underground.
Yeah. Yeah, he was on the Portland Mavericks.
He got his tickets. He got his tickets to see a Mariners game in what I myself personally believe was the worst stadium in Major League Baseball.
Oh, the Kingdom. The Kingdom was horrible. No, I take that back. Were you ever in the Hubert Humphrey Metrodome? That was the worst baseball stadium.
Okay, you win.
That was worse than the Kingdom. It was horrible.
Yeah, and it was worse because of the trash can sized baggies they had on the ceiling. Jesus Christ!
Every time I saw a game at the Metrodome, I expected Tom Bosley to come out, and like shake shake the bag to show you how tough it was.
Oh, man, it was terrible. When I went to this game, it was a game that didn't draw a lot of people. It was the Mariners and the Indians, and this is 1987.
Yeah, 87. Not anybody.
No, and so if you were on the third base side, we had great seats right on, and I was on the first base side, and you went, "Sam," I'd hear you because of the acoustics of that place. So right. Ken Kaiser, a very obese umpire.
I remember Ken Kaiser.
Right.
Wasn't he the guy that Earl Weaver had a thing? He and Earl Weaver.
No, that was Ron Gucciano.
No, Ron Gucciano. Okay.
So who I thought was gay.
Could be.
I did. Anyway, so he's so Ken Kaiser's at first, and a foul ball, it's like a tip and it rolls very slowly towards him, and he's bending over to pick it up, and some guy yells, "Pretend it's a hot dog, you fat shit!" And the other one was, I love when guys yell things for absolutely no reason. So the pitching coach for Cleveland comes out to talk to their guy, and on the way back, someone yells, "You suck it." I have to go out a little on this. They go, "You suck," and he looks at the guy and goes like this. He goes, points to his crotch and goes, like, "Boink, eat me," And the guy goes, and so the guy says, "What does he mean?" And he looks at the guy and goes, "It means blow me, you stupid bastard." And he went dug out. And I checked the paper the next couple of days. He wasn't fined. Nothing.
No, that's funny.
Nothing.
That's
Maybe
funny.
they figured he is a stupid bastard. So, what does it matter? You saw that Minnesota, that every sports team in Minnesota canceled their games tonight, postponed their games.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's probably a good idea.
Well, they're saying it's, to give the people a chance to reflect. No, it's to stop, people who might have other intentions from destroying your stadium.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they had that second shooting too, so.
That was unbelievable. I thought it was a taser. Jesus Christ. This tastes like shit. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was ketchup. Who trains these people?
Well, that's another thing too. Do they train them that way, or do they recruit them that way? Are they recruiting people that are afraid of black people, or are they training them to be afraid of black people?
Well, here's, you do not have to have a college degree to be a policeman in Detroit.
Anywhere.
You do not have to have a college degree to be
of.
What's that?
Virtually nowhere do you need one. There are places, but very few.
You could go from high school to being a cop there.
18 years old, right in there, baby, right in the academy.
Yeah, so you don't have any psychology background, have to nothing. All you have to do is be big and look mean. That was what the whole requirement.
You don't even have to be big. You don't even have to be big.
Yeah. No, you don't. That guy who pulled the gun on the guy saying you're going to ride lightning or whatever that ass. Oh, they fired that bitch, by the way. I'm so thrilled.
Good.
Yeah. The one who practically tortured the army lieutenant. Yeah, fire him and put the other one in jail. Yet neither of you has the discretion to go, he's in the army. What are you doing? And here's the other thing. They're both Latino.
Yeah. And,
wow.
And, it's the cop culture. They're frightened.
That's right. Yeah, to the cop, he wasn't Latino. He was blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're frightened. They're frightened, and they're trained to be frightened.
Well, then they're in the wrong job. They're just in the wrong job.
The psychology of it all is that the guys that are the bullies in high school are the ones who are the cops.
When I was in high school, there was a guy who was in my class, real quiet. He was voted most likely to be on a roof with a rifle. And he later became a cop. And one day this is in DC, and blonde guy, never talked to anybody, kind of guy. And so one day I'm in DC and I'm re-registering my car. And I go because I was near downtown, I went to headquarters at 3rd and Indiana, big, building. And I go in and I ask, where is the registration? And they point to it. And he's behind the desk. And behind him, this is 1970 something, behind him is a peace sign. And it says, footprint of the American chicken.
Wow.
And so, and I'm literally wearing an army fatigue jacket with pot paraphernalia on it, okay, all over it, and I'm stoned. And so, the one thing I knew about him was I wouldn't insult him just out of nowhere. If I was going to shit on him, he had to start it. He didn't like me, is what I'm trying to say. So I give him my name. He goes, "Oh, Greenfield. Look at you. I knew you'd wind up like this." And I said, "I bet registering cars is the dream job you always wanted as a kid." oh, I could do something really important or special, but let me register Sam's 68 Falcon. That's where the action is. Thank you so much for your time. And I turned and I walked out. And as soon as I was out of his line of sight, I ran out of there.
Yeah.
Because I do think he's nuts.
I had a high school classmate that became an ATF agent. And at our class reunion, he told this story. He and Bill Tanner were buddies. The agent's name was John Miller. That's neither here nor there. Miller and Tanner. They were like the couple of guys hung out together and stuff. You just knew, you thought of Miller, you thought of Tanner. You thought of Tanner, you thought of Miller. Well, they grew up, and one went the way of the law, wore a badge. The other guy went the way of making easy money on the street selling drugs. And so anyway.
Wow, it's a movie.
Yeah. So anyway, Miller's telling us, so Tanner's not at the class reunion. Miller is telling, hey, where's Tanner? I see Tanner. He goes, oh. So he tells us the last time he saw Tanner, he goes, we're doing a raid on a house, and we bust in like we usually do. It's loud, and you got to make a lot of noise. Everybody does it, yeah, blah, 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 blah. He jumps on this guy, throws a gun into his face, looks down, he's nothing but a beard and his glasses, but he had the trademark Tanner glasses on, and it was Tanner. And so he's going, freeze. He looks up, and then Tanner looks up, and he goes, Miller? And he goes, Tanner? And that's how he met him. That was his class. That was his reunion with the two of them.
Oh, man. So in other words, if you ask what Miller's doing, the answer is time.
Exactly. No, that Tanner's doing time. Miller was the guy
who was
doing time.
Yeah.
How old was he when he got popped in this time?
Oh, he would have been in his like late 20s, early 30s, something like that.
Okay.
Because this was our 20th reunion. This story got told.
There's nothing sadder than seeing like a 65-year-old guy running a meth lab. I mean, that is,
When you get to that age, it's always the granny who's doing the.
God bless her. Yeah, because they won't send her to jail.
Whenever they bust somebody who's over 65, it's usually some grandmother who, it's sort of like.
Why is it that when a guy talks about an alien probed him, he lives in Kansas?
Yeah.
And it's 11:30 at night. Okay. And he's, I never understood that. It's true. Do you know where?
Because they don't want the urban. They don't want to probe the urban.
They don't want me.
No.
They want the ones who are a little more malleable.
Exactly. They don't need a hardened urban dweller. They don't
need a guy like me who says, I don't need a fucking working fireplace. Kiss my ass.
I'm sure as they're going by, they go, this atmosphere, this planet looks like it has an atmosphere that might sustain life. Yeah, it does. Let's get a little closer. Let's go in. Oh, look, there's a lot of people in this area. Nah, when there's a lot of people, they're hardened. Let's go over here where it's densely populated. We'll find ourselves with a much better meal.
What's your name, Earthling? Gomert. Louis Gomert. Oh, he's perfect. I swear to God, Mark, if he doesn't look like a guy who goes on a TV show and says, I was probed, if he is not the quintessential prototype for that, then there isn't one.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
He's been very low key since he paid $23,000 in fines.
Yeah, how about that?
Walking around the X-ray machine, walking around the machine, X-ray machine, walking around the, what is it? It's a
metal detector.
Metal detector. Yeah. I didn't know I was walking around it. So you have no idea which way your feet were going. Okay. I'm not scared of you. Jesus. Oh, did you see who's thinking about running for mayor here in New York? Not mayor, governor. Andy Giuliani.
No.
Giuliani? Oh,
Andrew Giuliani.
Wow.
Now, I've known Mark for a long time, and Andy, I haven't known you that long. But if you got hit by a car and were in a coma, you'd be a better candidate than him. You know what his job was at the White House? Booking sports teams to come see the president. Can you think of a job with less responsibility?
Nope.
Sports teams to see Trump?
What is
Well,
that?
actually, it was very hard because a lot of them didn't show.
That's what I'm saying. The Nationals did, but they almost had to. They're in D.C.
They're in D.C. Yeah.
Yeah, but the
Hey,
Warriors.
Sam, are we having a statehood vote coming up here this month or next?
I don't give it a shot.
Well, I know it's not going to happen, but
But because if it does, then in coming years, whatever number of Democrats we have now, add 2.
That's true.
Because that city will never. I can't imagine. Although you never know, you could find some guy, a black guy who's attractive to people, as a moderate Republican in D.C. But the hatred for the Republican Party in D.C., and this is long before Trump, is so intense. It's when they have an election here, it's like 90 for the Democrat and 10 for the Republican. 96 when it was Obama.
Wow.
The person who came the closest to not winning it, but got the biggest percentage was Reagan, which is amazing because he was an egregious racist. So it amazes me, But
the thing about our racism is that it is so ingrained in the culture.
Yes, it is.
That it's sometimes possible for people who are victims of racism to not even see it.
Yeah, they kowtow to their master. They kowtow to the person who's hurting them. How does a black person vote for Trump? This is what I always say to these people. I tell them, if you walked into Trump Realty 50 years ago, you weren't going to get an apartment. This is the guy you want to vote for? Well, the guy was endorsed by David Duke and Patty Duke and the Duke of Earl.
The thing about Trump, though, is if he stripped away any of the bad qualities. So let's say by the stroke of the hand of God, suddenly he's not a racist anymore. His heart has changed and he's not a racist. There's still so many other things to be offended by.
The pettiness. And by the way, you don't have to be a racist and you could still be a rapist.
That's true.
And a cheat and a liar and a man who rips off the working man, won't pay his bills.
And just the humorous, the you know what I mean, the ability to think so much of yourself,
and it's all born of just an astronomically needy personality. Jesus.
Well,
how did he get to be president, though? That's what it's like.
He'll never be president again, because trust me, he cannot come back and be able to do what he did before.
No, he can't be president again. Now, first of all, he's going to be up to his eyeballs in lawsuits.
Well, not just that, but I mean, 74 is old, and he'll be 78 if he wants to. You know what I mean? If he wants to try.
Same age as Biden.
What's that?
That's the same age as Biden.
Yeah, I look at the two of them. I mean,
but that's you and me looking at them. That's not Joey Redneck from Harrison, Arkansas, looking at him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, I've always said this to you guys: as long as he stays white, he'll have that base, because that's all that base is about. That's all it's about. That and a stunning ignorance of people who literally have said they get their information from Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, I'm going to bolt because, bladder.
Got it.
Yeah, I got to
get that last 6 minutes of the movie. I get to.
Yeah. By the way,
don't rub it in; it hurts.
By the way, I got my second COVID shot, so I'm.
Oh, congratulations! So
thank you.
It's a matter of a little while. Do you have efficacy?
Just in time because the state of I don't know if you heard the news or not. It made national news. 1 in 4 high school students is now testing positive in Michigan.
Wow.
You guys should be so proud.
We are. I'm getting my last shot in Ohio.
But what about the vaccination? Good night, everybody.
Hello.
Appreciate it.
We'll be here next week, everybody. We'll be here next week. Anyway, so as long as we all got to go, let me say good night to our audience. And every Monday night, with the three of us at least, and sometimes anybody. I'll be posting the StreamYard post if you want to join us. These guys know, but I'll tell the audience, if you pop up on my screen, it won't be on your screen until I click you in. And if you don't look like somebody who's given me a hard time too much in the past, I'll probably pop you in here and we'll chat about the day's events and what's going on in the world. And you'll have big laughs like you've seen us have for the last hour. And we'll be back here again next Monday at 8 o'clock. So, Sam, Andy?
By the way, real quick, do me a favor. Because of I'm the age I'm at, try to avoid saying we got to go. It's time to leave is okay, but
Okay.
Well, I just got prescribed a new medication for my diabetes, and the doctor said, "Now this will lower your blood sugar, but you'll urinate a lot because that's how the blood sugar gets cleaned out."
Away.
Yeah, and so I have to pee about 13 times a day, but it's worth it.
Jesus, you're coming near my record.
Yeah, but you know what? My blood sugar's down to normal, so that I'll take.
Well, then it's worth it. It's worth the trade-off. How many bathrooms do you have in your house?
We got 3.
Oh, you're ahead of the game. Okay, you got 1, and I live with 2 women. Do you know how many times I've said these words? Coming out soon? Coming out soon? Oh yeah.
That's the nice thing about 3 of them. One of them I haven't told my daughters about. So as far as they know, there's only 2 in the house.
Serious?
No, I'm not serious.
Hidden behind the kitchen
I was so
stove.
impressed.
I know. It sounds like something that you would do, though, doesn't it? I mean, if you living with women, I'm living with women. Andy wouldn't know, but you got to hide things from them once in a while.
But here's the thing: if I show up next week, if I have a black eye, it's because the 6 minutes thing came up again. So,
Okay.
Now, it was a TV show or a movie?
it was a TV show, unfortunately.
What was the TV show? I'll send you the.
I don't know. I'm staying away from this. I don't know if I'm going to go in and say hi. I'm staying away. I'm Switzerland. That's right. I steal artifacts from Jews. No, I'm Switzerland.
Your assignment is to see the battered bastards of baseball before.
I'm going to see it. Is it on Netflix?
I'm going to look real quick. Hold on here.
I'll find out.
No, I got to. Got a review in the New Yorker. Let me see what we got here.
Can't hurt.
It was a Sundance Award winner. Doesn't say where you can see it. Oh, here we go. Official all right, the trailer's on YouTube. Netflix. It's on Netflix.
Okay.
That's great news. All right. I'll see you guys next week.
All right. See you next week. Andy.
Next week. Yeah.
Stay well.
So long.
See ya.
See you next week. Yep.